guest speaker of the day is the author of the book called The Gift of Failure. What? She's a teacher and author, and she writes advice column for the New York Times. She is a regular contributor to the Atlantic and Vermont Public Radio. She lives in New Hampshire with her family. Please help us welcome Jess Lahey.
I am so excited to be here, and sometimes I know people come in and they do a speech and then they leave because, you know, they have lives in other places, if you can imagine. But every single time I'm asked to come and speak to teachers and guidance counselors and counselors, all kinds of people like this, I'm like, can I please stay the whole time? Will you let me stay? It's just the most amazing audience, and I appreciate so much that you're here. So I went to the parenting section of my local bookstore, and if you've been there recently, you know it's grown. There's a lot of stuff there, and you can, everything from you should toilet train your child from the moment they exit the womb to you should let them do it on their own because then you'll traumatize them for life if you push it on them too quickly. So who am I to believe? I have no idea. Plus, I read all the books and I love them. None of them gave me what I needed, which was this way forward, some way forward to sort of move past what I was obviously doing wrong in my own parenting. And I needed some way to help the parents of my students understand that their kids don't like learning anymore because they're so focused on the grades and the mistakes and the fear and the anxiety. So I had to write that book, I guess, and that's what I've spent the past couple of years doing. If you give kids extrinsic motivators, you're likely to kill off their motivation. You're likely to kill off their creativity. And as a teacher, I'm stuck because that's what I got. I got points, I got grades, I got scores, I got honors, I got trophies, I got ribbons, I got all that stuff. I even know teachers who use candy in the classroom. Get an answer right, you get a Skittle. In order to be intrinsically motivated to do something, intrinsically motivated, in order to get towards that me high, chick sent me high state of flow, I'm in the groove because this is fun, not because there's some reward out there for me. No one's going to give me a lollipop for doing this thing. I just love it. And you guys have seen it. You know when the bell rings and the kids don't move and they keep doing what they're doing? Oh, that's gold. I mean, you don't mess with that. Autonomy is the very first thing you need in order to have intrinsic motivation. You have to have three really important things, and this all comes out of the work of Edward Deci. You need to have autonomy, which is kind of like independence, but not really. Kids make those noises like, or, and you know they're having problems with the homework. It's important for them to know that we love them, and we're connected to them, and we support them, but we're not going to do it for them. You also have to have competence. You need to experience competence. Now, there is a big difference between competence and confidence. I've seen kids with a ton of confidence. Sweetie, you're so smart, you're so talented, you're so good, you're so wonderful. But then they would fall apart immediately when things got hard because they didn't have the competence to back it up because they just hadn't been allowed to have that competence. Autonomy, competence, and here's the important last one, connection. It means that whatever I'm teaching those kids, I'm connecting it to the larger world for them. And God bless you, you people who teach math, facts, and quadratic equations, because I don't know how you connect that stuff to the larger world. But if you can do it, it's an amazing thing because all of a sudden, it's not this abstract concept. If things aren't connected for kids, they don't tend to have relevance. Now that I know all this, how do I apply it? I mean, that was really the big question going into this. So let me give you an example of how I applied it. One day, I'm sitting there at home, and my younger son has been working really, really hard on his math, and he's not very organized. He's got some executive function issues, but then again, he's an 11-year-old boy. So, and we'd been working really hard on how to get the homework not done. That wasn't a problem, but to get it in the backpack and to school. That seemed to be our stumbling block, not the first part, but that part. So I go into my living room, and his homework is sitting out on the coffee table, and he has just left for school. if I take that homework to him, I'm going to feel really good about my parenting. I'm going to be such a good mom if I take him that homework. He's going to look up at me and he's going to be like, thanks, Mom. I love you so much. And I show him that I care. And at the end of the day, my mental checklist of whether or not I was a good parent, choo, I get to check that off. I get all those warm, fuzzy feelings. The reality is if I take him the homework, he actually probably won't care that much, but you know, I like to believe in this fantasy land where he says I love you in front of other people. And so I didn't take the homework that day, and I paced for most of the day. At the end of the day, he came in through the door, slammed the door, still slams the door, and throws down the backpack and things fall everywhere because the backpack's still a problem. And I said, how was your day? And he said, it was great. And I said, really? Because there's a homework over there on the table. And he said, oh yeah, I forgot my math homework. I said, yeah, you forgot your math homework, I know. And he said, oh, it was okay. He said, I had to stay in for a little while everyone went out, but I talked to Mr. Dano, his fourth grade teacher. I talked to Mr. Dano, and Mr. Dano and I sat down, and we realized that if I came up with a checklist in the morning, that I could remember my stuff. It's the first item on it is clothes, which, you know, frankly, if my kid can't remember to put clothes on in the morning, I've got much deeper problems than this. Clothes, lunch, he makes his own lunch, backpack, homework in backpack, ring, he's obsessed with Lord of the Rings, wears one every day. And, you know, a few things kind of rotate in and off that list, and every once in a while he crosses things off. But that thing is still sitting on my refrigerator. We're raising kids who are going to have to be adults someday. And we're going to really have to start thinking about how to back up and come up with more long-term solutions. Letting our kids make their own checklists. And if they don't like checklists, maybe those don't work. Maybe they can come up with another system. But the key thing is we keep pushing them to come up with systems to solve their own problems. And just like that, our kids, they may not be princes and princesses, but they can rise to the challenge. We just have to be there for them when they do. Thank you very much.